Final hour overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Bryan Hayes, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, Chris Johnston here in a few moments. Jesse Marsh later in the hour. Canada beating the U.S. in L.A. last night. And Marsh got red carded, so he actually missed the Jonathan David game winner. And we'll get more into that with him and his experience and why he felt he had to step up. And
the coaches don't get the gate that much.
Not generally. I think, he wasn't happy with the previous match against Mexico and the way that was officiated, and his players had expressed that to him. And I think he had been speaking probably with CONCACAF and with the refs, and I think they were kind of aware that he was not going to be happy and he was going to have something to say. And then I guess he stepped over the line and they said, you got to go. But in the end, Canada still prevailed. Even without him. So we'll touch on that with Jesse Marsh a little bit later in the hour. All right, you want me to run through the rankings here before CJ joins us? Because
the happiness rankings?
Yeah, I think this is from a fan base's experience. Now, I had a difficult time with the middle. I didn't have a tough time with the 1 and the 7.
The middle is kind of bungled up.
It can fluctuate here. But this is what I think the fans of these 7 Canadian teams are thinking in terms of the fun meter.
I know 1, 2, and 7.
Okay. I think you might be surprised.
Really?
Number 7 is Vancouver.
Okay.
On an island.
But right? I'm telling you, I feel like I know 1 and 2 like a lock.
Okay. All right.
What is the X? Let's get into number 7 first. You just think that Vancouver fans are like...
I think they're miserable.
Yeah.
And I think they should be miserable. I think this team has failed their fans this year. I think the whole thing has been a circus. Miller, Pettersson, now Pettersson's hurt. Demko's injured all the time. They don't score goals. They've actually had this carrot has been in front of them. Just go and play pretty well and get in. You can still make
the
it.
Playoffs.
And now they're fading. And they're fading and they're losing and St. Louis is taking off. And I just think it's a miserable existence.
That's fair.
Vancouver at 7. I mean, you guys can challenge me if you got someone else.
I won't challenge you at 7 because I've got a dear friend that lives in Vancouver. He's fed up.
Yeah,
he says they need to blow. They need to blow it up. They should have blown it up years ago.
Imagine that talk. They were going to take down the Oilers last year, and a year later they're like, blow this up.
But I mean, different cast of characters. Maybe they overachieved last year, but it just didn't.
Who knows?
Seem like
but I bet you, I've said it 5 times. They didn't think they were going to end up here. Saying let's blow this up.
Yeah,
crazy stuff.
Exactly.
Number 6.
All right, I juggled 5 and 6 back and forth. I have the Leafs at 6.
Nah, come on.
Yeah, I got the Maple Leafs at 6. Again, as of today, the Nashville game, it's right there. Leaf fans are begging this team to step up and grab something. Right. A bull by the horns and say, we are the real deal. We're taking this division. And Matthews hasn't had a great year. There's been ups and downs. Who's going to play on the 3rd line, 4th line, who's in net. There's just, and it's also, there's this nervous energy as you get closer to the playoffs that is not fun for Leaf fans.
No.
Like, it's not fun. You look forward to it. You want it to change, but there's anxiety in the air. There always is when you get inside 12 games, which is where we're at.
Okay,
because this is where hearts break in the past. Leafs at 6, no doubt.
No, it's.
Who do you have? Challenge me? Who else would you put there?
I mean,
I'll tell you who I have at 5. I had Oilers at 5.
I was going to say Edmonton with the injuries to McDavid.
Exactly.
And
but
Draisaitl.
then you see Nuge, hat trick. They win without them.
I get it. I
think there could be a silver lining to those 2 guys being out. Everyone else has to be propped up.
So you need to mention that this is literally on a 24-hour basis where a win could...
That's exactly, buddy.
Well, who else would be there, though?
No, I
got Leafs at 6, Oilers at 5.
And you probably have Calgary at 4. But
you would have to think... I'm only going to challenge you on the idea that there are some teams that are not even solidified for a spot to complete in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And you're saying that you think people in Calgary and Montreal and even Ottawa are so much more happy than the Leaf fans who are 2 points out of a division title?
That's what I'm telling you.
That's where I'll challenge you.
But he's saying happiness meter, and he laid out his... you're right. I think you could flip-flop 5 or 6 depending on where you're at, but 6 because of the Nashville loss. And I think what it is you win 3 in a row, but there's still the San Jose. There's some stuff kicking around, but it's more the bigger picture, the anxiety that's coming in. And the expectation level, like those other fan bases that he's going to lay out, they're expected, like they're playing meaningful hockey, so people are excited.
There's
about
more
it,
house
right?
money. The Leafs are supposed to be in the playoffs.
Right.
They are. Same thing with Edmonton. That's why I could put Edmonton there because they've had ups and downs, and but they're starting to get healthy outside of their two big dogs.
Right. Did you see Kane flying around today?
Yes, and he's starting to go, and they're starting to win. And again, their time has come the playoffs, and the Leafs' time come the playoffs as well.
Right.
That's a part of this list. Is Leaf fans are like, all right, let's get going here. Let's get to the playoffs. So Leafs fans at 6, Oilers at 5, Flames at 4.
Yeah.
Now, they
swept New York.
They're rolling through New York, and they're staying in it. But again, St. Louis now won't lose.
Yeah.
So they're still a few points out. I thought of putting Calgary even higher than this, but I don't know if they're going to keep up. But if you're a Flames fan at this point, unless you wanted them to tank, which maybe that had to be baked into this conversation, but that ship sailed months ago.
This is house money they're playing with.
Yeah, they might get in. It's amazing what's going on.
There's a
Calgary.
chance to get in. They swept New York. And to me, I agree. I think they should be at 4 because the teams above them at 3, 2, 1, the fan bases have more, they've got something more to be excited.
You got the Sens fans at 1, don't you?
No. Well, who do you think I have at 3?
I think you have Ottawa at 3.
You think I have Ottawa. Who do you think I have at 3?
I think you have Ottawa at 1, so whoever that's left over.
I have Ottawa at 3.
Of course you do.
I have Ottawa at 3.
You have Winnipeg at 2, and you have Montreal at 1.
That's precisely my list. That is my list. Now, Ottawa, because, again, it's great, but now they banked points, and they were right there, and now it's like they're happy, but they have to make it.
Get in.
Exactly. And this year, they were supposed to make the playoffs. You have that opportunity. It's right there in front of you. Ottawa at 3. I have Winnipeg at 2 just because it's been consistently great all year.
Right.
And they're going to win the West, and they get to play a wild card team. Now, St. Louis is coming on. That may not be as easy as we thought it was going to be. If it's them. Maybe it's Vancouver, maybe it's Calgary, maybe it's Utah.
Right.
But I think Winnipeg has just been up here the whole year, and it's been a blast, and everything's going their way. And the Habs fans, I'm sorry, is a clear-cut number 1. Yeah. This is the definition of house money. They're scoring goals. They're making comebacks. Outside of your team winning a championship, I think this is the most fun fan experience in sports when your team comes out of nowhere conceivably and wins games, and every game matters so much for the Habs.
Right.
That's fun if you're a fan. You're realistic. They're not winning a Stanley Cup. They're probably not going to win a round if they get in. But the idea that they're playing for something when you didn't expect that 6 months ago, and they haven't done this in years, Habs fans at number 1.
I knew. That's why Montreal.
There's the list.
I knew Montreal won.
That's just a flawless list.
It's irrational. We got a guest on the line.
Top to bottom, you can't beat that list. Noodles, you concur with that list.
Well, I called
the other guy has no idea what he's talking about.
I called it because
accurate.
I just felt like you're talking about fans, not organizations.
Fans.
Organizations have different expectations.
Okay.
I honestly concur with the list. I think there is some jockeying, Edmonton, Toronto, all of that. But clear cut, Vancouver at 7.
Vancouver at 7, Habs at 1.
Yeah.
Here's Chris Johnston, our TSN Hockey Insider. Would you concur with that, CJ? The Habs and where they're at, most fun for any fan going right now. Vancouver, clearly number 7 in terms of the Canadian teams and their fan experience.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on the Habs, just because you're right. I mean, there's no expectations there. It's all vibes. It's all good. They're coming back. I know they lost the game on Saturday, but they rallied back in that one. It's just all bonus for them. And even if you're in Winnipeg right now, I'm sure there's lots of excitement about the Jets. You're probably a little nervous. You're looking at St. Louis roaring into the bottom playoff spot and thinking, oh no, are we going to catch a hot team in round 1? Could this go down in flames? I think, naturally, even when you're a fan of a good team, we're just talking fans here. We're not talking GMs or anything. There's that inclination to expect or be concerned about the worst thing happening. And so there's nothing bad that can happen in Montreal because they're already on house money at this point in the season.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, like those comebacks. You mentioned Colorado. They did it on Long Island, I think, on Thursday last week. And, we do it daily here. CJ, I'm sure you're doing the same thing. Like the jockeying for position between Montreal, the Rangers, the Islanders, Columbus. Do you have a read? Do you have one team in particular that sticks out that you think has the best chance of holding on and getting that second wild card?
Oh, I feel pretty good about the Canadians at this point in time. The Rangers have just had such a weird season. I don't know. I don't have any read there what's going to happen. All along, I've sort of thought they were going to find their way in just on talent, on what they've been, on their goaltender. But, the fact that they're at this point now, they've played a couple more games, and a lot of the teams you just mentioned, I just think they're in a tough spot. So I still think that Montreal finds a way to hold on. What'll be interesting to me, is can the Devils hang on? Obviously, with the injuries they've had, they've got a cushion as we're sitting here now. It might even seem a little crazy to bring them into the conversation, but they're only 6 points up on the Rangers. They're 7 points up on the Islanders, in the same division, of course. And so, is there a world where the Devils slide back to the pack and then they're part of, what we're looking at either for that last spot in the Metro or one of the wildcard spots? I think it's possible, just because of the, being down Hughes and Hamilton is pretty tough if you start right there. And so this is shaping up, to be honest, to be a much better playoff race in both conferences than we've seen the last couple of years.
CJ, what do you think the response would be if Keefe did that in Toronto? Do you think it would be do you think Hayes would be flown into SportsCenter on a chopper to react to that, or what?
Well, I guess you guys wouldn't have had to prepare for the show because it would have just been 3 hours of that, right? I mean, looking at it from every angle. I mean, we saw Sheldon maybe not push exactly that button, but obviously, we saw him here for 5 years with the Maple Leafs. He runs hot after losses, especially. He can be an emotional guy. And for whatever reason, that tripped his wire, that question.
No, it was the guy that tripped his wire.
Yeah, I mean, it was also the questioner, though, kind of threw him under the bus, I don't think on purpose, but by saying, the player says this. Because the way I read Keefe's reaction, honestly, is he's saying, I don't care what the player says. I want to see him do it. It's not about what he says. That's how I kind of interpreted that. But, it was pretty, it was an awkward moment in the press room. You could tell there was that silence, and then he just exited.
Yeah. That was good stuff, though, man.
Well, CJ,
that was good TV.
When you sense that, though, are you running right from the scrum right into the coach's office or to the next and saying, hey, this guy just said that? Because I didn't think it was outrageous comments. I actually, we talked about in the last hour, Kovacevic was just trying, to me, say the company lines and kind of, almost the cliches. It was Keefe that kind of went over the top. But if you sense that might be hitting a nerve, do you actually present it for the coach and maybe hope for a reaction that way? Is that how you would handle a scrum?
Honestly, I would only do it if I thought the player or the coach, depending on which one, had said something that was truly revelatory or controversial. In this case, I'm with you. I think it was a pretty mundane statement. It's obviously there was a little bit more. I think it's just about the player or the way it was phrased that got Sheldon to respond the way he did. I'll give you the long time ago example, but when I was covering the Leafs on a daily basis, and there was kind of an ongoing James Reimer, is he going to be the goaltender for the Leafs heading into the playoffs? And Randy Carlyle, after a loss in Detroit, said he was just okay tonight. And then, we did go in the room, I don't know if it was me or one of my colleagues, and said to James Reimer, Randy said you were just okay. And he goes, just okay? I thought I was great.
Oh, we remember that.
Yeah.
So there are times when I would use that, I guess, because it was kind of a notable quote at that time from the coach. But let's be honest. I mean, most of the times what anyone says after a game, it's a lot of it is just sort of cliche, and I wouldn't be repeating it in a question.
Yeah.
With Chris Johnston, our TSN hockey insider, Morgan Rielly is a guy, we haven't really talked about his play today. We've talked about it consistently throughout the year. He's having a down year. I mean, he's struggled to put up numbers. He's getting beat on pucks. He's had defensive breakdowns. Yet Carlo's here now, and Carlo is I think, stepping up pretty well. I mean,
starting to settle in.
Yeah, he's settled in. He hit the ground running. Scott Laughton's a bit of a different story, and Laughton, is still trying to find his footing here in Toronto. But how much confidence do you sense within the coach's room or within the organization that come playoff time, Morgan Rielly will elevate his play and be the guy that they expect him to be?
Well, I think there's some level of confidence there. I mean, obviously, I'm with you. It's been up and down for Morgan at times this season. And, look, he's been, like everyone else, it's a new coaching staff. He's been deployed differently. He's not seeing the same power play time as he once did. Certainly not making excuses for him, but I think that has to be factored in as part of the adjustment he's gone through. Obviously, part of what the coaching staff has done, too, is move players around. They had Carlo at the deadline in terms of who he's playing with. And I think, having this blue line, I do think is a source of confidence, though, for the team when when everything's going well, you've now got Carl O'Reilly, OEL, Tanev, McCabe. I mean, this is probably the best blue line on paper anyway the Leafs have had in I would say this era, since they've had the strong guys up front. And so, they expect Rielly to be a big part of that. But, what we get come playoff time, I think it'll be interesting. That's really what this last stretch of games is for, not just for Morgan, but for whether it's a Scott Laughton or anyone else that might not be totally pleased with where their game is at. I mean, as much as the standings are a focal point, I think it's about each player dialing into to playing, his best, before getting to that time of year. I don't think you can expect it to just start, come April 19th or 20th. So, I think it's been an adjustment feeling out period a little bit for Morgan and the coaching staff, but I don't think anyone's totally, losing their mind just yet. There's a feeling he can get there.
Yeah, there's still time left, and we've had a lot of talk about the goaltending tandem here down the stretch. You got 12 games left. In your mind, will you be fishing around for stories as to where Craig Berube is leaning for his Game 1 starter, or is that kind of like a week out before the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a decision much closer to the playoffs. I mean, let's face it, between Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz, no one's really grabbed a hold of the job here in the last couple of weeks. I mean, if you take it back to, those guys' numbers since even the Four Nations break ended, the end of February, there's kind of worse segments both individually of the season. So there's been individually, there's obviously been some good games in there. Stolarz got the win, against the Rangers after a couple losses. Woll had that great outing against Colorado last week. I mean, there's small encouraging signs, but I don't think that the information has led you to one option or the other at this point. So, I really think the Leafs coaching staff is going to, the Schedule A just demands that, they still got a bunch of back-to-backs and things. They're going out west now after the game tomorrow. So I think they're going to still play both guys pretty close to evenly and then make that determination by gives them the most confidence, who's played the best when it gets, closer to mid-April.
CJ, in the organization, who do you think's got the most riding on what happens in the next month? Like, last 10, 15 games here, first round of the playoffs, like, if you were directing your camera, like if there was some kind of loss or something, like where would you direct the cameraman to go to? Who would you want to hear from first? Like, who's got the most riding on what's coming up?
You mean players or people up
all of it,
or both?
All of it.
Well, I mean, I would start with everyone who doesn't have a contract for next season. So that starts in the president's suite with Brendan Shanahan, but also includes, John Tavares, who's, put in 7 years here now and obviously was hoping to win a cup here and still has a chance to do that, but doesn't know what next year holds. Mitch Marner would probably be a little further down the line, but I mean, the stakes seem high for everybody. I mean, it's impossible to get around the fact that, you guys have probably run out of ways to talk about it. I've run out of ways to write about it, when I'm doing my day job. There's been no team in NHL history that's had as much regular season success as this group and at the same time as much lack of postseason success. And so, I don't know what's going to, who knows whether that arrives this spring. If it doesn't, you have to think the consequences and just kind of where everybody's at in the cycle that it's going to be I know we've said this before, but I really do believe there'd be some significant changes if this group falls short between now and next year. I mean, some of them potentially brought on by those individuals who, have the right to leave too. So, I'd start with, the guys like Tavares and Shanahan to me stand out just because both have put a lot into this. Brendan's been here since before, since that last era where things were pretty ugly when he took over and obviously has believed in these core guys and he's been a big reason why they've stuck with them. And the GMs that have worked with them and such. So, I think that the stakes are at their highest for people like that, just because, we don't know if next March we'll be talking about a Leafs team headed for the playoffs with them still here.
Yeah. All right, CJ, I'm with you on that. I mean, in terms of like the Shanahan element and him not having a contract in the future, like that does seem pretty significant.
It does.
But JT, Marner, I mean, it's interesting that the captain and the highest paid player is not at the forefront of an answer like that, though. Like, I see where you're coming from in terms of reporting, in terms of looking at it like, okay, literally what's at stake because it may affect your future. Auston Matthews will be a Leaf next year.
Right.
But Like, when does it? Because when, like, I've said this for years. When you think of Edmonton, it's like McDavid's got to do it. Like, he's got to be the guy.
Right.
You know, like Sid had to do it and McKinnon had to do it. Why do we not look at Auston? Or maybe we do. Like, do we look at Auston the same way? Like, doesn't he have
the
to
same
win?
urgency? Like, not even close.
Why is that though?
I don't
know. Like, why is Auston, who is one of the 5 best players in the world when he's healthy, not expected to be the guy that has the most on the line and the most pressure to be the guy that drags this team? Every other all-time great player at some point has that responsibility. Why does it feel like Matthews doesn't necessarily, bear that responsibility?
Well, I mean, it might be a little on me for the way I answer the question.
No, I understand, but
I think he does. I think he does bear that responsibility. I guess I just was thinking more about, this could go one way or another for some of the people I mentioned at the top. Whereas I'm with you, I think Matthews is back by the way. But look, this hasn't been his best season. The health is at the forefront of the reason for that. But he wants to be considered with those guys, and he knows more than anything I could say here that he's got to show up. I mean, the truth is, if you look back at that Four Nations game, I mean, if he scores in overtime, like, he would have had his moment there. I know that's a coulda, woulda, shoulda, but he played great in that game, picked up a couple points. Like, I think he understands. I'm sure he's feeling a little bit of that same pressure that McDavid's talked about, that you just see these years going by and you realize, I'm not a kid anymore, and you don't know what the opportunities are going to look like going forward. I mean, he's still got tons of runway on his career, I would think. But, I think once it starts, he'll be pretty close to the top of that list, too.
Okay, CJ. We'll leave it there, buddy. Thank you for this. We'll do it again soon.
All right, boys. Have a good one.
Chris Johnston, our TSN Hockey Insider. Yeah, I think that might be the element of the core 4, the history of the team, the no winning, and,
Well,
but
it does
Austin,
in. If they don't do anything in the playoffs this year, I think it's just
he should be at the forefront
higher.
of it. And I get it. It'll be, he's banged up and all that kind of stuff. Like, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that's not the story after this. And if they don't win, that that's the reasoning or what have you. But you're the captain. You're the best player.
Yeah.
Like, you're an all-time great player. That's what he's been. All-time great goal scorer. He's won a Hart, Rockets, all that kind of stuff. He's
a Hall of Famer already.
Yeah, he probably is. If he retires today, he probably goes in. Like, he's got to lead this team. He's got to be the best player that drags them somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's sports, man. Like, no one's like, not Patrick Mahomes. Put him. The left tackle's got more pressure, and
you're looking for a John Cooper or a Paul Maurice or a Travis Green or someone to say after round 1, we had no answer for 34.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One time you're looking for that. We had no answer for 34.
Yeah. It's got to happen. It has to happen. All right, we sent Al's brother out into the city with another pair of Leaf tickets, and you have to guess where he's hiding for your chance to win them. Let's hear the first clue of the week.
Hey, OverDrive fans, it's Monday, which means we've got a new set of clues to help you win yourself a pair of Leafs tickets. We're giving away 2 tickets to Leafs and Panthers for April 2nd. Should be a great game. You got to find out where Al's brother is hiding this week. Here's your first clue. I'm located right in downtown Toronto, and this specific landmark was built in 2014.
All right. A landmark built in 2014. Tune in tomorrow for another clue. The first caller through on Friday with the correct location wins a pair of tickets. Leafs Panthers, April 2nd. What a game that is. Find Al's brother. Brought to you by McAlpine Ford in Aurora. Our family, the Ford family, and you.
Not a historic landmark.
Yeah, how can you have a landmark that was built in 2014? Am I missing something?
Well, a landmark, I mean,
Guys, he's making stuff up.
I'm sure.
Like, I think of something with history that's been around for a long time.
Well, but a landmark, it's like, okay, this was a statue that was put up in 2014. That's something like that.
Could he be at Legends Row, like outside? Maybe he's down there. Was that 2014? It was around that time.
That's
not that when Shanahan showed up? No, I don't think so. I think he came here. I think that was in like 15 or 16.
Yeah, or later, was it?
Yeah. Anyway, we don't have the answer, and that's the way it should be. It's Monday. We don't have the answer.
Yeah, but it's not historic. That's the thing. 2014, there's not a lot of history
Doesn't
around
count. Doesn't count. All right, best bets later in the hour. Jesse Marsh coming up. Canada beating the Americans on American soil. done that twice recently. That is significant. They finished third, not what they were looking for in terms of the Nations League out in LA, but still, it's better than fourth, which is where the U.S. currently stands.
Right.
So how significant is this as we march closer to the World Cup? And we'll get his take on getting red carded yesterday, the reaction from the guys, everything that came out of the last few days in LA. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel later in the hour. We've got Jesse Marsh coming up here in a few moments. Shout out to Victor Hovland, your boy, Rick Hovland, with a big win yesterday at Valspar.
Dude, do you know how many people hate that guy's guts? He still, after winning a PGA Tour event, says after, I don't know where it's going. Like, he's like 60 birdies, 16 and 17, and he said on 16 he hit the shot. I heard him on some kind of podcast this morning. He goes, I hit the ball and I looked up, and this shot right here, he goes, I didn't know where it went, and I said, please be straight, and then he said, please be the right distance. And people are like, this guy still has no idea what he's doing, and he beat the best players in the world.
I know. It's got to be a gimmick, though, now. Like
some coach has got to say to him, look, man, if you're looking to hit every single shot perfect, you're nuts. Just hit your good ones really good like you did for the most part, and you're going to win a lot of money, dude. And shut up and be happy.
It's so annoying. The guy that wins, and he's like, I still don't feel great about my game.
I hate it. I don't like –
That's why people hate it.
It's heroic. It's heroic.
Dude, they posted a list of the coaches this guy's been through since college. There's like 30 people on the list.
Yeah.
He keeps ripping through coaches.
By all accounts, he's a workaholic. Like, he's constantly on the range and he's working on his game, and I appreciate that. But you're a great player. You just want it, maybe the toughest course you're going to play all year, close to it, and you shot the lights out. You mentioned it coming down the stretch. Thomas bogeys 16, bogeys 18, and Hovland goes 2 under down the stretch, or 1 under. I guess he bogeyed 18, but the post-game stuff was really weird. And even what he posted something on Instagram, like, stupid game, basically like, I guess I got lucky there because I can't figure it out.
So you're like, what are you talking about?
The fact that you go through that many coaches, though,
something's going on there.
Fishy there.
Something's going on there. But
coaches are like, I can't work with this guy.
It could be coaches being like, he's not listening, or this guy's too crazy. He's calling me at 3 a.m. I can't live like this. You know what's weird, too, is that he marked that 6-inch putt on 18.
Well, he wanted to kind of close it out and finish it off.
But he wasn't in the last group.
Dude,
like, he had to wait.
It was disrespectful, but the one guy in the fairway could have holed out the time. But he was just like, let me have my little moment.
But
who knows?
Just go tap
Maybe
it
he's
in.
a weirdo, man.
He sounds
honestly, marking that ball, like, I was like, just tap it in, Hovland. Like, it was a good lag putt. Tap it in. Game over. You beat Thomas. And Thomas hasn't won in 3 years, man. His head is going to be spinning because he was a 3-shot lead on the 16th tee.
I think that guys like I don't know what these guys are thinking, but guys like Thomas and Spieth, and maybe guys like Victor Hovland, they're going into these tournaments like the Valspar where they're like, this isn't an elevated event. There's no Scotty. There's no Rory. There's no heater line. Maybe this is my chance to pick off a victory and kind of be relevant again. And they can't do it. Like they got to be able to pick one off.
Well, they're
like
trying to make the Ryder Cup, right? That's what it's all about. This whole season for those guys is to make it back into the Ryder Cup team.
Well, you want to talk about another wacky guy to follow is that Jordan Spieth, man. Like, that guy, like, his caddy must be like, dude, you're one of the best players in the world and you can't keep it in the fairway? Like, what are you doing out there?
It is wild.
This guy is all over the yard, and when he splits the fairway, he'll have 140 yards in. He grabs a pitching wedge, and this thing ends up behind a garbage can behind the grandstand, and the caddy's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It is the most insane watch, Jordan Spieth on a golf course, man.
It is wild, man.
It's behind a garbage.
It is.
Dude,
like, he hits in weird places. Man.
Yeah, it's either the driver's off the universe, but he will gut a fairway right down the middle, and then it's like he's just like watch to his caddy. You think it's over now? Watch this.
Yeah.
And he'll hit a 9-iron or a pitching wedge to the most ridiculous place. And you want to talk about a guy that's tired of hearing it? His caddy must need psychiatric help.
He is narrowing it down, Noodles, to like a half yard. You know, like he's got a 5-iron in his hand where it's like, just hit the center of the green, you'll be happy.
Yeah.
And he's like, did you say that was 204 or 205? It's like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, just hit the thing. And he's like,
matters to him, though. That's
I
why
know,
he's
but
on
it's
it,
just, it's too much, man. It's too, and listen, he's a great player. Was a great player. Still has the capability of being a great player. But it's pretty wild to see Spieth and Thomas just kind of spiral out of control, considering how great they've been and how much they've won throughout their careers.
Well, Thomas, at least he's showing signs. He shot 62 at the Players, and he almost won this weekend. So there's something there to build off of.
Yeah, and he's next time we see him, I think, is at Augusta.
Yeah,
I believe, which is coming up quick, man. We got 2 more weeks. They go through Texas, quick jaunt down to Texas, and then it's go time in 2 weeks. And again, we're going to have a lot planned for Masters Week.
Yes.
Right, Al's brother's going to be involved. We're going to be involved. A lot of picks. Got to get that Greg Norman hoodie out. You still have yours?
I've got mine.
I still have mine.
I actually wore mine the other day.
You wear that out publicly?
Yeah.
You wear your Greg Norman laying on the green at the Masters.
Yes, it's warm.
Customized hoodie. It's a great hoodie.
I'm
going to get some new ones. I'm going to talk to Coco's brother. We'll get some new ones.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so disrespectful to Greg Norman, but who cares?
Who cares about Greg Norman?
I was wearing it, and somebody stopped me. It was like,
that's disrespectful.
Somebody was stopped me. It was like, "What do you have on your shirt?"
It's a great icebreaker.
It's laying there.
It's a great icebreaker because anyone that knows it appreciates that picture greatly. Like, I know what that is.
Yes.
That is Greg Norman.
That guy has a diaper on in the 12th green. And it's full.
Yes. That guy is absolutely soiling because he is throwing away a green jacket.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, you're very curious because you're like, why is that professional laying on a green? It's beautifully manicured like that.
Yeah, with a straw hat on.
I'm telling you, I wore it the other day. Like,
it's a great hoodie. It's a great hoodie. I've had someone ask me that recently, like, of all the different things we've had over the years.
Yeah.
Because we've had some hoodies, some shirts, some hats. Like, what would be the number one item if we could blast out 10,000? Like, you have a bobblehead night, you go down to a Jays game, and it's like, hey, come on down for Vladdy's bobblehead night. What do you think would be the item that the majority of our fans would pounce on? Like, if we could hand out 10,000 Norman hoodies.
You think it's the Norman hoodie?
I think the Norman hoodie would be high, man. I do.
It's recency bias, and I don't want to say it because it's disrespectful. It's Hayes is a fraud hats.
I think Hayes is a fraud would be
Joe,
high.
put the picture up. A guy went to the game in Nashville and held up a sign. I'm not kidding.
I saw that. Gurdeep sent me the text on Saturday.
A guy went to Nashville. He's in Tennessee and just holds up a sign with a mullet. Hayes is a fraud.
That's a wig they're wearing. Those are wigs they're wearing.
Yeah,
the
those
guy
are
with the
wigs.
Matthews jersey, that's a wig, isn't it? Or that's his salad.
Like, what are you doing down there in Nashville with a Hayes is a fraud? Plus, it's a Sportsnet game. Like, they're not going to put
here's
me
the other
up
thing.
or
If
that
you put
sign up on TV.
If you put that photo up one more time, the guy on the right I appreciate the most because he's wearing a Toronto Bay Leaves jersey.
Yes.
That's from SCTV.
That's
John
right.
Candy was Billy Stamavolichki.
That's right.
And that shirt, like only if
that's vintage, man.
That's vintage because I believe they shot that episode in Edmonton.
In Edmonton. That's where they used to do SCTV back in the day.
Yeah, and John Candy was Billy Stamavolichki.
Toronto Bay Leafs.
His name went from his left shoulder all the way down his right arm.
Yeah, that's a good pick, man.
Toronto
I hadn't seen
Bay
that.
Leafs.
But Gurdeep sent that, and I had to ask him, like, are you being serious, or is that like Photoshopped? Like, is that in Nashville? And I guess he was down there. And he said, yeah. That sign, like some guy just walking around Bridgestone Arena in Nashville.
With a painted sign there.
With Hayes is a fraud.
Hey, those guys.
So, made it big, man. I've made it down to Nashville. Now we got Denver, Nashville. What else do we have? St. Louis.
Got it.
Like, we're kind of tackling that part of the country right now.
Exactly. You're everywhere.
All right, so Canada, they end up beating the Americans yesterday on American soil, something that has happened twice now, which that never happens.
Right.
You
Never
think they
happened.
popped in the vid haze of the Canada hockey start with USA and said this is how we start plays or something like it?
I wonder if there was anything like that from the head coach. And here he is, the head coach of the men's national team, Jesse Marsh. Jesse, congrats on the win yesterday. What was the chatter pregame? How did you get the boys jacked for the game yesterday?
Hey, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me. We did. Before the match, we showed them the 3 fights.
I love it.
And we said, look, we can't throw haymakers, but our version of haymakers are winning tackles and winning duels and being physical and sprinting more. And, we kind of said, let's physically, dominate the game. And I think our guys had a really good performance. And despite no haymakers being thrown, it was good to get a win.
Jesse, what was it like for you getting punted from that game? What did you do? Did you just give me a cold beer and a monitor? What was your approach to that?
Well, look, it was deserved. I'll just say that because I ran halfway down the pitch and into the opposing coach's box, and I probably picked the wrong time to do it because there was a call earlier in the game, and then there was a call in the days before against Mexico where I felt like we could have had a penalty in each situation. But the one that I really went crazy for probably wasn't a penalty. But, I was just trying to support our players. And I think they've been frustrated by some of the treatment they've got. But they don't stop, man. They're amazing. They don't get frustrated. They don't let those kinds of disappointments factor in. They just keep going. So, really it's about the team and the kind of progress we've made and the direction of where everything's going.
What do you think in the psychology of the players, what it means to them when their coach, I don't know if it's the intensity or standing up for them, but what is your interpretation of how many times you need to do that or what you need to show your players as far as sticking up for them and being intense and into the game on the sidelines?
Look, I think, we've had a good time together. I think the fit for who I am and who they are and what they need and what the kind of things that I provide by what I value as in teams. I think that there's been a lot of symmetries. I think there's been a lot of just things fitting in ways that feel right. So, in a moment like that, they said to me after the Mexico game that they were angry, that they needed me and our staff to stand up for them, and to help fight the good fight. Because sometimes, I think the guys, they're such great character, they're such great guys, they're such great players, but they've been mistreated, and because their kindness is a true virtue with them, but they don't want it to be taken advantage of. They don't want it to be everyone assumes that they're just going to behave the right way. So, it just takes an American coach to come in and be a real jerk, and then everything kind of balances out.
Yeah, we like that. We love that with Jesse Marsh. And I'm curious, you're relatively new still to the program, but, they're within CONCACAF, forget the rest of the world, within CONCACAF, Canada has been, an underdog really throughout its existence, and you're punching up with Mexico and with the Americans and at times with others. Do you feel like it's shifting? Is that something you're trying to accomplish? Is that a message you're trying to send your players? Do you want to be perceived as an underdog, or do you want to fight back on that and say, forget it?
No.
We want to be the top dogs here.
No, I think it's now shifting for sure. And that's kind of what I said to them from the beginning is that they're good, that they deserve to be good, that it's okay to be arrogant, it's okay to be confident, it's okay to believe in yourself. And then to back it up by the performances. And even though we lost to Mexico on Thursday night, I thought we were really good and in many ways the better team in the match. And you don't games play out in different ways, and you don't just because you're the better team doesn't always mean you automatically win the match. But the team is growing. The confidence is growing. Their ability to play at a high level is growing. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time, and with the World Cup, just around the corner, I think the motivation and momentum within the group is really high, and I think that there's so much more work to be done, but there's clearly big potential.
With Jesse Marsh, again, Canada beating the U.S. yesterday, finishing third Nations League out in L.A., and we were kind of joking about it, but you got red carded, you left. And my understanding is you didn't see the Jonathan David game winner live.
Right.
How quick
Yeah.
when did you see it? Like, did you make sure you got on your phone when you got out of the elevator to check it out? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I wanted to go to a view where I could see the game well, and then I had to take an elevator kind of up to the next deck, and literally as the elevator doors are closing, there was an eruption in the stadium. And then it was now trying to figure out in the 20 seconds where I'm going up to the 5th floor or whatever, how loud was the yell, and did it mean that it was Canadians or Americans? And I was pretty sure that it was Canadians. And then also I thought that our team at that point was on top of the match, so I figured that it would be ours. But obviously now the door's open, and I quickly see a monitor, and our guys are celebrating, so then I know it's ours. So
there you go.
That was good.
You missed a nice goal, man.
Yeah.
It was a beauty.
He sparked it, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Johnny David.
Exactly.
Johnny David.
That's him, man. I mean, the guy, he's had a great year, great couple of years in Europe, and, goal scoring had been an issue at times within the program, and when you consider what he can do and be a game breaker for you, we always talk about Davies and we talk about a number of players, including Jonathan David, but his ability to do what he did yesterday, how imperative is that, moving forward when you guys want to continue to take these next steps?
Yeah, well, look, he's a complete player. He has no weaknesses. He's incredibly intelligent. He's good defensively. He fits in the game. I don't know if you guys caught it, but yesterday there was a moment where he was the one sprinting back all the way to stop a transition moment for their most explosive attacking player. Like, you can count on one hand the amount of high-level strikers that would commit to their team in that way. Right? Like, really, you would not, as good as Ronaldo and Messi are, you would never see those guys doing that. And that for me, it speaks volumes about who Jonathan is, what kind of teammate he is, how committed he is to the national team, to everything we're doing. So, yeah, he's an inspiration.
Yeah, well, it was a great match yesterday. I know you guys went there to win it, but I think leaving on a winning note like you did yesterday obviously is very significant, and it's all about building blocks as we get closer and closer to 2026. I know it's a busy time. You're probably in transit, so we appreciate you finding some time for us. Thank you, Jesse.
And yeah, I appreciate it. I love you guys are passionate about our team and following us. So thanks for the support. And anytime I'll come on anytime and talk about how great these players are, because
Absolutely.
We're getting really excited for next summer.
You got it. Doors always open. Thank you, Jesse. There
Thanks,
he is.
guys.
You got it, Jesse Marsh. Men's national team beat the Americans on American soil. Love it.
I love that he says that he wants his group to have some confidence, some swagger, some chip.
Yeah. Go get it, man.
Exactly.
Like, you're going to the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
And it's expanding. There's going to be more teams. You're going to be likely in a softer group, quote unquote. No guarantees, but you're going to have home matches, Toronto, Vancouver. Get through. Break
everything
through the
is
group
so,
stage.
especially in that sport, everything's overanalyzed, like plays and control, the pace of play. Sometimes you just got to go out and let it fly. Because when you do that, maybe all that other stuff will take care of itself instinctually, as opposed to just sitting back thinking, what do I have to do here to make an impact? Just let it rip, man.
Yeah.
So the Leafs are the same thing. Like, just go out there and let it rip. Like, they got to have a mentality going into a playoff series. We can beat this team in 4 or 5. This doesn't have to come down to a Game 7 where we've fallen short. Like, kill a team.
Yeah, that would
Beat
be
a
great.
team 4 straight.
That would be ideal. Make your life easier.
God.
And go out there and perform.
Yeah.
All right, Best Bets powered by FanDuel coming up. I almost forgot. We've had a strong show.
We
And
have
at
had.
the end. We
Yep.
don't want to end
Problem.
on a sour note. All right, FanDuel Best Bets coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Quinn Hughes with a point, Luke Hughes with a point tonight. The Hughes brothers both get on the game sheet.
Love it.
At paying plus 178. Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Live same-game parlays are now available for every NHL game on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19+, physically located in Ontario. No Jonathan Kovacevic props
Would you
available
put-
on FanDuel.
I feel like I put
think he gets-
$1,000 on something.
Something happens with him tonight.
100%.
Three
I gotta
plus
watch.
shots.
I gotta lock into Devils Canucks tonight. Now.
Yeah, me too.
For sure. That's going to be a good game because both teams
Desperate.
are desperate and struggling. I mean, Devils for a different reason. Devils are making the playoffs. It's just a matter of where they're seated.
They get pumped
points.
tonight, people. Start getting nervous, Noodles. I'm with you. Right now, it's a safe bet, but you still got to get to like 90 points to make it.
But they got 80. They're not.
I know that, but there's 12 games left, 11 games left. Like you get pumped tonight, you got 10 left, and it's like you got to get 10 points. You start getting
your Pierre Engvall-led Islanders are chasing.
Maybe they catch them.
Telling you,
I don't know.
Might.
We'll see.
There's something there.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out today. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in, TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
New Greg Norman hoodies en route, maybe with a hazy face on them.
Oh.
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.